Hey everyone. It's always so bizarre to me that whenever a game comes out, it has like so little attention that within a week, so few people play it that they just forget about it. Then, when you check how many active players still on it, you have like 5 people, and one of them is a guy that accidentally left his PC on the main menu. But it's even worse when it's a game that had potential to be advertised, widely before its release, but it just wasn't. So it never even had a fair chance to be known by anyone at all. That happens a lot to indie games, and a little bit to like huge AAA studios like Ubisoft. And this game they had suffered the same result, except I don't really care that much about it because you can tell like what I'm going to show in a second, it like clearly made for money, there's no passion behind it. If a studio has to work hard, make all the employees do overtime, maybe someone dies during the production to just barely make a game that nobody plays at all, then yeah, it's kind of sad. Like just a ton of money in their own time, maybe even like 10 years just going down the drain. But with Ubisoft, when they make a game with no advertising, like nothing at all, and it comes out looking like this, just so generic, I don't really care to be fair if it's forgotten about. If you haven't seen before, it's called X-Defiant, or previously known as Tom Clancy's X-Defiant. All the way back in 2021 when it was announced, and thank God a little bit that they dropped the poor dead guy's name on it because it doesn't really fit at all. And if you look at the title and the promotional pictures, you can tell like the X is capitalized with next to the D, it looks like XD. If this game came out in 2011, that would have been a sick title. But back to what I said earlier about it being announced in 2021, because I legitimately believe, no joke, that was the only marketing, like the only bit of pennies they were willing to put to the budget to make at least somewhat well known so people like recognize the name a little bit. When they told people what it was called, and they got into to make like a few trailers for the game, and that was it, all done. And so you got, ever since then, 3 years back, 3 whole years, 3 years since then, I haven't seen like a single image from the game at all. Not like an ad, not like a beta playtest, like not even like a 5-second ad you see on YouTube and just skip. For someone who doesn't care about the game at all, that's bad. But imagine like if you were an actual fan, I don't know why you would be, but if you were a fan waiting 3 years and not having a single thing to be informed about, that's even worse. And if I did see any pictures from the game back then, I've probably forgotten about it because looking at it now, today, the screenshot from the game looks so generic. I really don't blame myself for mistaking it for another game. Most AAA games look generic, especially by Ubisoft, but that only makes it worse in conjunction with the fact that this game didn't have any advertising, so nobody could recognize it. Which I don't understand why publishers like Ubisoft can't even take like a bit of money, like just a tiny amount to at least make sure like have like a couple of people know about it. And this was back in 2021, like the prime time for like someone to have like an E3, some guy to walk up on stage, yeah, we're making a game called X-Defiant, we're coming out soon, and just walk off stage, I mean, back then, they really did like pump money to make sure everyone knew about the new release of a Far Cry game. So maybe because this game was like more of a tiny side project, they weren't willing to like take it to that extreme, but even then you have to like add some fuel to the fire to make sure like it's not dead within the first week of release, which it sort of did, sadly. But even though I'm pretty vocal about it, as if I was like disappointed that it was so shit, I don't really care that much, aside from how underwhelming it is. However, let me dissect the game a little bit, because since I don't really know jack shit about it, I should look up some stuff online. And the major tagline I saw being thrown around was like Call of Duty like shooter, which in my opinion, that's not really like a good moniker to have on a game. Like the COD series by itself is already so bland that trying to compare yourself to it only makes it worse. Like having one flavor that people somewhat like, vanilla, and then making it more bland, vanilla light. Plus, it's already one of those games that you go to turn off your brain when you're playing, so the idea of hooking them in with that comparison would make them be like, oh man, I don't want to put any sort of conscious effort into a game. Plus, judging by screenshots and how it looks nothing like a COD game, I think they made a connection between those two series because of guns, and that was it. But apart from that proud subtitle, the main trump card they were expecting to like get people in the game by having iconic Ubisoft characters like from shooters to be as a playable character in the game, wouldn't that make it more of a hero shooter than a Call of Duty like shooter? But you read off everyone's favorite character, or all the stars are here. You have from the Cleaners in Division, De Rosa, Kersey in Green, you have Libertar from Far Cry 6, Iselda, Beto Celete, Echelon from Splinter Cell, Mali, Samir, Rafa, Phantoms from Ghost Recon, Phantoms, Singer, Rhino, Gorgon, and DedSec from Watch Dogs, Sebastian, Ying, and Gia. I'm not gonna lie, I only care about one series from that list, that being Far Cry, and I have to admit, I know it's a very crybaby thing to say, but they should have gotten Far Cry 3 characters like Vaas, I mean, come on. And if that wasn't enough to feed your Ubisoft IP addiction, you'd also play in maps from your iconic games. If you've ever dreamed of playing a bad FPS shooter on one of those maps, just in case. I really want to show gameplay footage because when I first saw it, I couldn't shake off the fact like it looks so much like a mobile game scaled up for console and PC. Where maybe if you play on your phone, it looks decent enough, but when you translate that to an actual monitor and you see like just how bland it looks with like all the colors and flat graphics, flat, it just looks boring to play. So if a game looks and plays bland and isn't that fun, then at least you have to hand to them and admit that they made create a game that you can play at bare minimum, because that's what a game is, something you play. But they couldn't even do that right, because within the first hour of the game coming out, people couldn't even play a match because the servers weren't working. Like, they had 3 whole years to make this game, and they couldn't even make sure people had a good, decent first playthrough. The last I read, this issue carried on to the next day, but maybe some regions had the issue fixed earlier. I'm not really sure because people aren't really tweeting like how excited they are that the servers are finally working, and they can finally play an exciting round of X-Defiant. But overall, it's so jarring when you see a company like this one, like Ubisoft, where they make a project that's so clearly losing money, but they somehow still keep working on it just to have it fare horribly and have no remaining players in the future. The game does have some skins you can buy, which is probably like where the bulk of the money is going to come from, but I don't think people are dying to get them. Not to mention the domino effect of having a dying fans where so many people quit the game that becomes hard to find a match, so people leave after that. So then there's no people to actually have a full lobby, and that's where it ends. Like, kind of a sad ending for a game. Come on.